Today, we're talking about the Washington Commanders defense and the keys to stop the Giants in week one. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, just like Jaden Daniels is going to be hitting Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, and many others for multiple touchdowns this upcoming season. And so in exchange for hitting that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Washington Commanders Insider family as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the keys for the defense to really win against this Giants offense here in week number one. And so, look, I think that there are 3 points that the defense is going to have to hit in order to come away with the win here defensively. And so I think that the first thing that they're going to have to do is stop the run. Next, they're going to have to slow down the passing game. And lastly, I think it's going to be critical for this defense to win in the turnover battle. And so let's start with the first point, which is stop the run. And so, look, I think that this is probably the most obvious point for this defense coming into this season. Look, when you look at what they struggled with last year, it was stopping the run, especially when you look at just what they were able to do against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was really a struggle there. And we know that if this team is going to win it all, they're going to have to be able to get past the Eagles. And so I think that, you know that's in the back of your mind, but you know that every team in the National Football League saw your body of work last year, and they're going to test you. And so I think that the Giants are going to be no different. In fact, when you go back and you look at the games that were played, the Giants had some success here. And I think that one of the more critical points coming into this game as far as stopping the run is that the Giants have both of their running backs returning who both had some success against this defense, because when you look at Tyrone Tracy Jr., he had success. And then you also look at Devin Singletary, he also had some success. And when you just look at the yards and just the averages here. And so for the Giants, 129 and 5.9 a carry. That was in game one. In game two, they came back. They had 164 yards, 5.3 a carry. And so when you look at just the averages per carry, I mean, that is just wild, because you're getting almost 6 yards a carry in one game, and you're right at the 5 at the next game. And so we're talking about, just 10 yards to move the sticks here. And so the Commanders cannot allow this to happen. You want to make sure that you really, dictate the way the game is going to be played at the line of scrimmage. And so this is where the Commanders, we're going to see just how good they've gotten with the additions that they have. Because one of the things that Joe Wood Jr. talked about really is that the defense has looked great in practice, training camp, and everything else. And we've talked about this as well, with the clippings and then also too the videos and stuff like that, that this defense definitely won a lot more than what they did in last year's training camp and practices and things like that. But it's going to be about now taking what you did on the practice field and putting it over here on the Sunday where games are starting to count. So I think that the Commanders definitely have what they need in place. And so we're going to find out just how good, Javon Kinlaw is going to be up front. We're also going to find out, does Johnny Newton take a step forward? Deron Payne, a guy that we had been talking about, where the Commanders have really raved about what he's been doing and just his leadership and things like that. And Joe Wood Jr. just talked about Dorrance Armstrong. And so we haven't even talked about Dietrich Wise Jr., another guy that I think is going to come in and make a lot of plays for us and things like that. And so, no doubt about it, the Commanders got better up front. And so I think that that's going to help them as far as getting some early, penetration into the backfield. And hopefully we're able to reset the line that way. And then you're hoping too that just with guys like Eddie Goldman are going to be able to come in, kind of eat up some space and just really keep a lot of the guys in the second level able to just be clean to come up and make plays. And so that is giving Bobby Wagner, who has been just a tackling guru, along with Frankie Louvu, just a clean window to come in, get through the trash and make plays there. And so you're talking about your run fit or whatnot. And so I think that that is going to be key for the Commanders, is really cutting down this average from last season. I think you need to get down to right around 3.5, I'd say, is where I would like to see this defense in week one. If they could just hold the Giants down like that, I think that would be really huge. And I think it would be a big step forward. And I think that this is something that you can expect the Giants to try to really test the Commanders with early. They're going to try to hit them with the run and then try to go down the field here later on. And so next, I think another thing that the Commanders are going to have to do is just really slow down the pass. And so, look, we know that the passing game has definitely gotten better when you add Russell Wilson over. I think it's just expected across the National Football League. And I think that they are, because he's definitely going to open it up. He's going to definitely be looking to go down the field. And we know, just what the issue could be in trying to stop Malik Neighbors. But, there's also other wide receivers on this Giants team that is capable as well. And so I do think that Russell Wilson will spread the football around. You can expect for a guy like Darius Slayton to probably be involved. We'll see what they do with Wan'Dale Robinson, another guy that's capable as well. But, Russell Wilson is going to be looking to just go down the field. And so I think that really what you're talking about with just slowing down the passing attack is, I think, just keeping everything in front of you and making Russell Wilson really earn everything. Because I think that if he's able to kind of come in and throw those moon balls, which I believe Joe Wood Jr. talked about, which is the deep ball, you're going to be in trouble, because those big plays really hurt you and things like that. But I think that if the Commanders are able to keep everything in front of them, it's going to make it tougher for the Giants. Because going back and looking at just the two games that were played last season, it wasn't like there was a whole bunch of yards that was gained by the Giants. In fact, it was 175 in the first game and 162 in the second game. But Daniel Jones was able to get 2 touchdowns. And so I think that what you want to do is you want to try to just definitely cut down the touchdowns if you can, but you also want to minimize just the amount of just yards that they could get in the air. And so that means that this is where you're hoping that a healthy Marshawn Lattimore is going to be able to stay sticky in coverage, because I do believe, with him being healthy, it's going to allow us to play a lot more man-to-man type of defense and really kind of frustrate, their wide receivers and things like that. You're hoping that perhaps he can slow down Malik Neighbors and things like that. And then also, too, we're going to get a chance to see, just what Trey Amos can do, because I think that if he can come in and just do the things that he's been doing, on the practice squad, and that really translates over. Now you're talking about this secondary just being totally different from what the Giants faced last season. And I think it just has that shutdown ability, because, when you're talking about, okay, look, we can put these guys on Allens, they can stop players and stuff like that from going deep. We're good to go there. And I just think collectively, when you just look at what was added, like a guy like Jonathan Jones, and then also too, you still have Noah Anagami out there as well, and then you have guys on the back half like Quan Martin and things like that. I think that you're going to see a unit, man, that's going to have some chances to come up and really take the football away. And so hopefully, that is one of the things that the Commanders can do, is get some turnovers, keep everything in front of them, and kind of minimize these yards and stuff like that. And we're also hoping, too, you got to make sure that you get the tackle after the catch, because that is something that Malik Neighbors certainly can do. He had over 100 in one of the games. And so lastly, talking about the turnovers. And so the turnovers are going to be huge here. And so the Commanders won in the turnover battle last season, forcing the Giants to really fumble the ball once each game. And so I think that that is going to be big, especially when you're talking about a divisional game. And I think that this is something, when you're talking about just the identity of your team, right? You want to have that type of team on defense that can just come in, generate turnovers. They can be just sticky like that, and just really come up. And also, too, just really impose their will from a physicality standpoint. And so that's why I think it's going to be important as far as, kind of putting all three of these things together. But you want to get the turnovers. And so that's definitely something to watch for. And I think that with the secondary, they are in the prime position to really take the football away, like I said before, because, with this defensive front, and it's improved and everything else, then you add Von Miller. I think that what you're going to see is that if Russell Wilson is forced to really try to press and try to go after things that are not there, the pressure is going to be there. And that is where you can take advantage of him kind of being off of his spot, having to look, just off his original point where he wanted to go. And you can just get him, as he's throwing balls that he doesn't want to throw out there. And so let's see if this secondary can take advantage of those opportunities. I'd expect for Quan Martin, Mikey Samra and these guys to definitely be ball hunting just like they did in camp, because I do think that the Giants are going to give us some that can be had. And I think it's going to be just an extra bonus here if we get a chance to see, the defensive line, linebackers kind of come up, maybe be able to get some strip sacks and things like that, because that is something that you want to definitely watch for with Von Miller. He is a pass rush specialist. And so it's not just about getting sacks. Hey, if he can get the strip sacks and things like that, that would be huge for this team when you're talking about flipping the field, getting it over to this offense that we know is going to be versatile and just be able to attack defenses in our defenses in many different ways. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. Out of those three keys, what do you think is going to be the biggest one? Because like I said, stopping the run, I think is number one on the list here for the Commanders coming into this one and just really for the entire season. I think that when you're talking about the identity, you need to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage up front, get to your run fits and everything else, be there for these cutbacks and stop these guys from gashing you. Because I think that when you look at those averages last year, 5.9 and 5.3, that is way too much for any team to gain on the ground. So cutting that yards per carry down is going to be huge. And lastly, or second to last is going to be, slowing down the passing game. And so, like I said before, I know Daniel Jones is not there, but still they had success as far as getting to the end zone, with those 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying that you would be able to just pitch a shutout there, but I would expect that the yards are something that Russell Wilson is going to be able to go after here, because he's trying to stretch the field a little bit more. And so I think that if you can kind of shrink it, kind of make it to where he has to kind of work the entire field, take the kind of the dump downs and things like that, I think that you're winning in the passing game. Because I know, when you look at the end of the game stats and stuff like that, some of that stuff maybe stacks up when a team is in the 2-minute drill, they're in a hurry up and stuff like that. But I think that that's going to be key as far as slowing Russell Wilson in that pass game down, because you don't want him to feel comfortable just going deep down the field and getting big play after big play. And lastly, turnovers are going to be huge. I think that turnovers are something that, again, we're talking about the identity with this team. And I think that this is something that Joe Wood Jr. wants this team to do, which is turn the football over. And so I think that anytime you can turn the football over, change the momentum like this, give your offense a short field to go, it is just a major, major bonus. And so let's see if this defense can really take the things that they have been doing in practice and training camp, and it translates now over to Sunday, where these games are going to mean a lot. And so you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.